We are live.
We are live. Good evening, everyone, and happy Digital Learning Day. I'm Karen Richardson, the Executive Director of the Virginia Society for Technology and Education, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to what has become an annual Digital Learning Day event here at VSTE, and that is to spend a little bit of time talking with our award winners from our previous conference, 2017. If you were at the conference, may have noticed that they were not allowed to speak at all. They were invited up on stage. We smiled at them. We handed them an award, and then we sort of gave them a little nudge. No, I'm just kidding. But unfortunately, our opening 30 minutes at the conference is just not enough time to really have a chance to get to actually talk to our award winners. So we've made it an event to every year pull them together for an evening to chat about the things that they're passionate about and just generally talk about educational technology. So I am very excited to welcome all three of them this evening, and we decided they were going to talk briefly in alphabetical order, and then Tim Stalmer, who is also here, Mr. VSTE Video there in the window. And I may have some questions to ask. We are monitoring the comments on the YouTube Live account as well, if you would like to leave questions or comments there too. So Josh Ajima is an instructional facilitator for technology. Did I get that right? IFT in Loudoun County. Most of you know him as Mr. 3D Printer and Mr. Maker. So we're thrilled to welcome Josh to us. Nichole Thomas, who's immediately to his right in the window, is also an instructional facilitator for technology in Loudoun County. Josh was our Innovative Educator of the Year. Nichole was our Outstanding Teacher of the Year, and Tim Taylor, who's the Instructional Technology Supervisor as well as a part of the VSTE Board of Directors, was our Outstanding Leader for the year. So we're thrilled to welcome all three of them, and we're going to kick it off to Josh here, who's going to spend a little bit of time talking about his passion, and I suspect it may have something to do with making, but I don't want to give it away. So take it away, Josh.
Hey, so great to be here, and it was a real honor to be the Innovative Educator of the Year from VSTE, because I think VSTE is all about innovation. I think every VSTE member is part of that process of taking an idea and scaling it up, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight, was that idea, because sometimes when we look at things that are innovative, they seem like it happens like really fast and boom, suddenly it's there. But for those of us who are actually working in the field and trying to take an idea and move it out to an entire district, we know that that can be a long process. And so for me, this idea of making actually started out as an idea in like 2013, and doing some brainstorming about how maker spaces and making in the classroom would work, and developing a model. And so, as technologists and innovators, like, we spend some time thinking about the permutations of stuff, and so developing models on how things will work. And so for me, the idea of making in the classroom is about three things: designing something, kind of thinking about it, making it, actually using our hands-on thing, and then sharing it out with the world. And so that's kind of my model, is design, make, share. I have a website called Design, Make, Teach, and that's my personal implementation of that plan. So, in 2013, I had this idea and I needed to scale it up. So, I bought stuff out of my pocket and brought it into the classroom and tried things out with teachers. And that works for a while, kind of making, and just all kinds of making, like having a very broad definition of what it means to be makers. And I think technology gives us the abilities and tools to really scale up some things. And so a lot of times what we're thinking right now about making is 3D printing and laser cutters and those hands-on tools, robotics and stuff like that. But we're also for me, it's also digital making, right? And so some of the things that we're doing right now in my county that started out as pilots and really small things were things like blogging. And so this year we just got access to blogs for every student in the county, and that is super exciting. There's a big difference between just a handful of kids blogging or one classroom blogging to having everyone in the county having access to that. And so for me, that's a pocket, right? So once you blog, then you can do all sorts of instructional things. You can make stuff and then share it through your blogs. Another example is WeVideo. We used to use Movie Maker in our district, and then kids would have something different at home, and they'd have problems working with projects back and forth. And we have Chromebooks, but now we have a district-wide license to WeVideo, and so we've been doing a lot of stuff with green screen and video stuff, and all of these tools become super powerful when everyone has access to it, when you're going one-to-one. And so that's kind of what I get excited about as far as design tools like Tinkercad, Canva. There's a lot of tools for digital making, whether it's 2D images or 3D designs, that work on every device and that students can use at home, and they're free. And to me, that's the really exciting part of where we're at right now. And so, taking that idea, working out in small scale, but then being able to scale that up. And so some of that means like we have to hustle. And so that's grants and convincing people in your district to support it, and getting a principal to let you have a room and maybe a person, and getting your PTA involved. And so at Dominion High School, where I teach, we're lucky enough to have a dedicated makerspace. We had a small library makerspace, and now we have a dedicated makerspace that was provided through the U.S. Department of Education's CTE Makeover Challenge Fund. So we got like $50,000 in cash and prizes for that. But that was a lot of, I'm applying for grants, helping teachers apply for grants. Sometimes it's small things like I worked with an EL teacher to get a small grant to make a bookmaking machine. So her English language learners could write their own stories, print them out, and then we can actually bind them and make a real physical book. So combining digital and physical skills together. So I think there's a path for any sort of idea or innovation that you have that you just have to stick with. And so, yeah, you're seeing me getting an award, but like that was 5 years of kind of working and progressing, going from idea and just building and building and building to make that happen. And I think that's a lesson for a lot of innovation that teachers and people might be trying to do. It might seem really hard at first, but you got to look for your opportunities and keep building things, both one-on-one with individual teachers, but kind of school-wide, district-wide. Nichole and I both have been promoting 3D printing and making in the classroom and inviting teachers in and having small conversations. But then you can also do things beyond the district. And so one of the things that we have in our area is the Nova Maker Fair, a big community-wide celebration of making. And so last year I kind of brought up the idea, well, why don't we have an educator meetup so other people who are doing this cool thing that I'm interested in, making in the classroom, can get together and share best practices. So for all of those of you in Virginia, it's not that bad of a drive to go to Nova Maker Fair Sunday, March 18th. 10 to 12:45 is the Maker Educator meetup. You get in early, you get a discount. It's at George Mason University this year, and so that's super exciting. And so if you see, that's kind of my plan on how do I scale up. I get people from other districts and other schools and private schools and museums and things like that, all just discussing and talking about their ideas and views of maker education, so that you get multiple perspectives. In my district, we're having an LCPS Student Maker Showcase Thursday, March 22nd. It's starting out small because we want to bring in, a number of schools. We'll have 16 projects this year, but the idea is next year, maybe we'll have a full mini maker fair for Loudoun County Public Schools. So again, it's that slowly progression, scaling up down the line. And then, you can take an idea like 3D printing or making in the classroom and make that even bigger. And so I'm part of the Construct 3D conference last year as part of the planning team. And so there's a whole conference about 3D printing in the classroom that's going to be October 5th to 8th at Georgia Tech. And they're having a number of initiatives there involved with 3D printing. You don't actually have to attend the conference to participate. At VSTE, I gave a talk about 0 things, looking at 3D printing repositories and finding out what's missing and having students design things. And so a company called Ultimaker, who's a sponsor of the Construct 3D conference, is having this project where students can contribute their design ideas and have those printed out and actually shown at the Construct 3D conference. So there's a way for all of you out there to have your students participate in this big national conference about 3D printing. So that's kind of where I'm at, and thanks for inviting me.
So real quick, Josh, so what was it about 3D printing and or making? Did one come before the other for you that sort of sparked your imagination?
I think when I first read about makerspaces, like I think as technologists and IFTs or ITRTs, like we try and figure out everything. So we try a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And so when I read about makerspaces, I was going to get the Arduinos and learn to code. And I bought a 3D printer and I was getting the robotics. And I thought I was going to explore all of these little things. But then I found my pocket and I just sort of fell in love with 3D printing. One of the reasons why I like it is it just fits in the scale of the classroom. And that as far as time goes and size, it allows you to bring magic into your classroom, and that these are things that students typically can't hand fabricate themselves, right? It literally is students sitting there staring, like if you remember when we first got the iPads, right? And the kids were so entranced by that. Even now, 5 years later, like I have juniors who came down to the makerspace today, and when they get their first thing to start printing, I mean, they're so entranced by, oh, there's my design. In this case, a Spanish class was designing buildings, right? And then I swear one of these kids just sat there for like 10 minutes, just staring at the 3D printer building up their object.
That's funny. That's great. Well, good. Well, thank you very much. And I think that's the piece that maybe you don't say for the, I'll do the humble brag piece for you too, though, but it's that spark of a dream kind of thing, or like, you have that passion, and then that's the fuel that helps drive it. And I hope for our students too, we make those spaces for them to find those passions that then drive them along. So we're so excited that you're part of our VSTE family and community too. So welcome. Thank you. Anyway, so Tim Taylor is next, right? I think we decided alphabetical order. So Tim Taylor is, I told you his title and now I've lost it. So he does lots of things. He's the king of Shenandoah County, actually, I've heard as his title, perhaps, or mayor of Shenandoah County or some such thing. Well, you take it. Good. So anyway, we're so excited to have Tim. He is part of the board of directors. It's been great to get to know him this year as we work through our new VSTE technology standards for instructional personnel. He's been a real leader on that, and I'm excited to turn it over to him and find out what he's excited about.
All right. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate it. My official title is Instructional Technology Supervisor. I've had various titles through the years, but basically what the ITRCs in Shenandoah County Public Schools, where I'm from, is they basically, I'm responsible for them. I supervise them. I start out in a technology or computer lab myself, and somehow worked my way up here to the central office. But I originally was a fourth grade teacher for 6 years, and middle school for 11 years. Then I discovered the world of computers and how it can impact instruction. I want to kind of piggyback on something that Josh had said there. He mentioned about WeVideo. We are in Shenandoah County, we are really concentrating and have been for quite a few years on project or problem-based learning. And we've just worked out with WeVideo. We are actually doing an actual trial period right now where we have full access to WeVideo licenses until May 18th. And we're hoping we'll find the funding then to go ahead and get district-wide licenses. But an example of a PBL project that we're doing using the WeVideo tool, we have a school in the southern end, 7th grade group. We've been having some situations on buses where we're kind of having some issues with bus discipline. Bus safety has been kind of a concern. And our superintendent was down at this school I was referencing and kind of brought up about, we're going to start this program and try to come up with some ideas how we can share, positive behaviors on the bus, things to do, not to do, etc. And this seventh grade teacher happens to be a family consumer science teacher. She mentions that via the FCCLA program her students are involved with, they have these competitions called FACS. And one of them could be a topic along this line. So my two ITRCs and myself met with this teacher, and we brainstormed the other day, and she's planning on using WeVideo. We told her about it, about the green screen effects, etc. And as part of a project there for our school division, we got this tie into this real actual project that has to be done. They're going to create PSAs about bus safety and what can be done to improve bus safety, what's expected. The big thing we're trying to sell to our community is once the students get on bus, it's really an extension of the classroom. Learning begins then. So the teacher and the students are, really excited about they're going to get an opportunity to create these PSAs. They're also talking about doing infographics, and we actually have a poster-sized printer in our school division. So an example of a PBL project that we're doing, so we're excited about that. The other thing we really try to emphasize a lot here is I'm a big, and you've heard me say this before, I know Karen has a million times, is I'm always trying to get away from the fact that technology is kind of in a silo by itself. Technology is a tool it's an instructional tool, okay, just like a textbook, pencil, whatever. And we try to really integrate that and try to get that concept to talk across to all of our teachers. And so our ITRC staff, matter of fact, we had a meeting today. We really emphasize, and we work with our other instructional coaches in the school division. We actually have a language arts curriculum specialist for the first time in our school division. That was a major thing. We're hoping to get a math one next year. But one thing we wanted to improve on our school district is we needed to improve our writing scores. And so writing was a main emphasis. And so my ITRCs, myself, have been meeting jointly with instructional coaches and our curriculum specialists. And they started back in the summer, but they came up with a writing expectation guide for elementary school, middle school, and they're working on secondary now. And they were working on that. And I got a chance to sit in on it on some of them, but our ITRCs weren't there when we had our original meetings. But once school convened and the ITRCs came back to work, we said, hey, we looked at this expectation guide that they put together, and we said, we really have some great instructional technology tools that will really complement these expectations. So again, we got the curriculum specialists in there, the instructional coaches. We talked about it, what the expectations were, looked at the document, and what the ITRCs did is they went ahead and interjected in that document digital tools that could be used to help with the writing process. So it's a great marriage there. And so it wasn't that they would, because we have an actual website for teacher resources where teachers can access this guide. So instead of having that guide and then having another link to get to tech tools, we put it all together on one document, which is a great marriage right there. So we're really proud of that, and we're always looking for ways of doing that instead of separating things out. It's all found there together. The other thing we spent a lot of time on, we're currently working on, and I know a lot of school divisions are looking at this, and some of them have even implemented it, because we're actually looking at it as a VSTE board, and that's micro-credentialing or digital badging. VSTE is getting one now in place, and William Wallace is really working on that. And did I say that correctly, William Wallace, Karen? What?
Waller, but
Waller. Sorry, William Waller. I think, I was thinking about a former movie, I think. So anyway, but William, there's heading up our education committee, so they're working on this micro-credentialing. We've had it in place. This is actually our second full year of implementation. And like most school divisions I've looked at, what a lot of school divisions have done is they've created badges where obviously teachers come in and they can pick a topic and they have to come, do so many skills, and someone goes ahead and looks at what they've submitted and gives them credit or approves it, and they enter a digital badge. And what we did is we're a G Suite for education school division, so we had a lot of badges about learning how to use Google Docs or using Google Sites, etc., Google Sheets. And so they're very, I guess we were looking like at Bloom's, they were lower order thinking skills. Thinking about the SAMR model was more the substitution, augmentation, lower levels. We're talking about maybe 1 or 2 points. It wasn't spend a whole lot of time in order to earn those badges. And it did its job last year, because we had some people that need to learn some basic skills. But our goal this year, working with the ITRCs, we really wanted to ramped that thing up. We were looking more at instructional strategies. So we really rewrote our digital badging system this past fall. And now we have digital badges that first they earn more points. So it's a little more attractive to teachers, especially when they get their license renewed. So we're looking at 10 points, 20 points, 15 points. And now we're looking at instructional strategies, how we can actually, instead of learning specifically about a tool, but how we can use that tool in instruction. And we've done badges, for example, it comes down to different categories about the writing process. We also have categories in where we actually talk about how you can create content when it comes down to specific areas. We have a badge on digital assessments. So teachers can go through and they are required to actually use a digital assessment tool in their classrooms. They have to submit a lesson plan, how it's being used. It has to be observed by an administrator, an ITRC, or myself. So they're actually implementing it in their classroom using these tools in order to earn these digital badges. Instead of, again, the previous system, they may have to read an article, submit something, but there's really not any engagement with the students. Almost every one of them now involves engagement with the students. And again, there's got to be follow-up, again, a reflection component, either with an ITRC, building administrator, or myself. So that's a program we're really, really proud of. And again, it's oriented really around digital tools at this time, but I met with all of our building administrators at a recent staff meeting and also our instructional directors here at the school board office and said, hey, we really want to expand upon this about any topic that's going to help our teachers. And so we talked about like classroom management, and we talked about, we have one of our middle school directors really big on looking at how we grade right now. So he actually has developed a badge, it's almost ready now to publish, about grading practices and how we want teachers to look at grading differently and different products and things they might want to use when it comes to managing that. So we're really expanding that out there. So those are three things, again, that we've really been concentrating on. We're really working really hard with teachers. We are called instructional technology resource coaches. We're trying to follow a coaching model in our school division. We want to meet with teachers and help them integrate technology any way we can that it's effective. And when we've been successful with that model, it's just slowly but surely got to be patient. We kind of get our foot in the door, but I definitely have seen a big increase in our ITRCs working with teachers once we've even switched that title from instructional technology resource teacher to coach and started telling them, we're here to help out, assist, and coach. So that's kind of the main things we've been working here in Shenandoah County.
That's great. And I think the thing that really struck me was that point about incorporating technology in other initiatives as well, so that, we have a writing initiative. Look at all these great technology tools that support writing and collaboration and those sorts of things. So it's just not another thing,
right,
for
something
teachers.
else to do.
So so has the badging caught on? We're rolling it out slowly in VSTE, but where do your teachers put their badges?
We have WordPress and Credly. So in other words, they can create a Credly account, they can go in there and track them. And we've had some ITRCs caring to help promote it. What they'll do is they'll actually print off a few badges and hang them outside their door, so it kind of catches the eye of other teachers.
Okay,
hey, where did this come from? And so it's kind of like a little medal of honor. What we just got to do is we have, of course, a person responsible for relicensure, and what she does is always contacts people that are up for recertification in the upcoming year. So what she's doing is she's advertising that, hey, we've got this badging system. If you need to get some points, here's the way to do it. But the number one way, and again, as I mentioned, I talked to principals about this, is whenever they're doing observations and they see teachers need help in certain areas, we're saying, hey, direct them to this badging system, because this is this is a great resource for them. They can work on the skills they need to work on, become better teachers, but they're getting recertification points at the same time.
That's great. And changing the focus, from the tools to what you actually want them doing with the tools is important too.
Yes.
And that's certainly been an issue for many years. It's not just about learning how to insert graphics into PowerPoint. It's about why you might be using PowerPoint in the first place, right?
Yeah, about that 10-year-old PowerPoint you're still using.
Right. That was made from your overheads. You and I are showing our
right.
ages, Tim Taylor. We should move on now to our Innovative Teacher of the Year, Nichole Thomas. And Nichole is also an instructional, weren't they all supposed to be called instructional technology resource teachers? I'm sorry, and everybody's changed their name. So instructional facilitator for technology. Did I get it?
You got it, yes.
I did, great. And you can tell us that about the school that you're at. But Nichole is our Outstanding Teacher of the Year, and I'm going to turn it over to her to talk a little about what's going on in her world.
Perfect. Hi, happy Digital Learning Day. I'm excited to be here. And for the record, we used to be technology resource teachers, and they just changed our name too. And so we're IFTs or TRTs or any kind of a combination. We'll answer to anything at this point. We're just excited. Yeah, so I am also in Loudoun County with Josh Ajima over there. But I am an elementary school IFT, and I work at the fabulous Liberty Elementary. I'm very lucky there. So my journey at Liberty started about 3 years ago. So I'm still pretty new to the position. And I got drafted out of just a 4th grade classroom. So when I got to Liberty Elementary, I was absolutely blown away by the amount of technology that we had at that school and just the overall kind of culture that the school has. Every single person at that school is willing to try new things and excited to kind of push the boundaries and as educators learn and improve themselves. So it was just a really cool place to be able to experience. And so after my first year, I co-taught a lot with the different teachers, and I introduced a lot of technology. And at the end of my first year, my principal sat me down and he said, all right, we have this regular old computer lab. And I said, yeah. And he said, where in the real world do you ever go into a space and sit down individually at your computer and you don't talk to anybody else and you don't do anything else and don't interact and you just do your work for 30 minutes and that's it and then you leave? And I was like, well, nowhere. And he was like, okay, so do you agree with me that the idea of a computer lab is a little bit outdated? And I said, yeah, I do. And so he said, fix it. So I sat down, and I have a wonderful technology assistant in our school, Chrissy Koenigke, and we put our heads together along with my principal, Paul Pack, and we came up with this idea called the Smart Lab. So we, like I said, we're very lucky to have a lot of different types of technologies. We have 3D printers, we have robotics, we have iPads, we have Chromebooks. We're really excited to be able to kind of utilize all of these tools. And something that's at all of the schools is you have different kind of levels of comfortableness of your teachers, right? Every single school has those teachers that are those really high flyers that are totally willing to jump in and get their feet wet. And they're like, oh, latest and greatest. Yes, let's do it. Let's go. I'm in. And then you have those teachers that are kind of that, middle of the road comfortable. And they're like, okay, I saw that person over there do it. And that looked cool. And I think I can try it. I saw it used and I think maybe I can try it now. And then you have some of those teachers that are very comfortable where they are, which is totally okay, that say, that was great for you over there, and I'm great for me over here, and I don't necessarily need to learn those new things. And so we were finding that even though we had all of this technology, we were building a little bit of inequality with our students, depending on the class they were in was depending on a lot of the experiences that they were getting. That and the fact that we also have a lot of technology and we wanted to make sure that it was being utilized. And, teachers have so much on their plates right now that learning all the new technology all the time and utilizing it in the best way possible is a lot to put on someone's plate. So we created this Smart Lab environment, and what it is we took our computer lab schedule where the teachers come for 30 minutes every week, and we said, okay, 30 minutes isn't enough time to really, truly get down deep and dig and get to the nitty-gritty of what we want to do here, that content creation that we want our students to be able to have. So we scrapped that, and so my teachers get to come for an hour every other week. And this space is now a space where the teacher can come with their students, knowing absolutely nothing about the technology we're about to use. And they get embedded PD along with their students. And I am there with them co-teaching these lessons, and they get the understanding of how to use the technology along with their students. So this was our big idea, and we were all excited. And so we planned it at the very end of my first year. And and let's see, that was 2 years ago now. And so my teachers came back in August and we said, hey, we have this great idea. We're so excited. Are you up for it? And like I said, we have that awesome culture, and all my teachers kind of looked at us and they said, okay, let's see what happens. So we started off with kind of that planning piece, right, that everyone always has to do. And so what I did is I invited each grade level to come in and have planning time. And we said, okay, bring your curriculum, bring the things that you're going to teach. Let's plan until December, and then we can reassess. What are you teaching? In math, in language arts, in science and social studies, what are you going to teach? And then my side of things, I brought a whole list of all the technology we have. And we sat down as a team and we said, okay, you know, in September in science, you're learning about the life cycle. Okay, here on the technology list, well, we have these Ozobots. How cool would it be to code an Ozobot to go around the butterfly life cycle and do a different trick at each stop? Or we just did a project for 5th graders using Flipgrid. We were just talking about that. And they're doing in language arts, they're learning about persuasive letters and they're learning about debates. And we, in our county, PBL, that project-based learning is huge and really making our learning authentic. And so we planned this PBL about the construction that's happening behind our school. They tore down a whole bunch of trees and they're putting in all new buildings in a whole new neighborhood. And, you know, half the kids were like, yeah, this is great. And half the kids were like, why is this great? It was pretty outside. Why would you do that? And so we took that, my 5th grade teachers are phenomenal, and took that and used it. And in the lab using Flipgrid, we created these debates. So the students, you know, got split for their side and they got to create their, you know, 1.5 minute debate of what they thought. And then they had to listen to an opposing view, and then they had to create a rebuttal. And so it was just these ways, these little ways that we could really truly utilize technology and tie it into the curriculum. So that's kind of where we started, and we're really excited to be able to do that. Like I said, our teachers are able to get that embedded PD, so they can come in, you know, not having a whole lot of familiarity, and they're there with me to co-teach it. So when the lesson would happen, you know, the 1st grade teacher would come in and say, okay, guess what? You know, we've talked all about animals and their habitats, and we've talked about the different, you know, biomes, and there's the grasslands, and there's the forests, and there's the Arctic, and, you know, talking about the things that they're familiar with, their curriculum in class. And then they say, okay, and today we're gonna, you know, create something really cool for you. And so then I step in and I say, okay, guys, today we're going to use Tinkercad and we're going to use our 3D printers, and you guys are going to design the habitat that your animal would live in. Or for one of my grade levels, we did animal adaptations. So they had to create their own animal, and they had to choose what features the animal had on its body, its physical adaptations. And then we tied it even further and pulled in that language arts curriculum, and they had to write. So how is what you've just designed and you've just printed out, this brand new animal, going to survive, and why did you give it those physical adaptations that you did? So it's just been really exciting to get to see how this is working, and especially for it to be, you know, now in our 2nd year. Like I said, when we first started it 2 Augusts ago, we just planned until December. And then my principal, who is our biggest advocate, decided to give us a half-day planning day in December to plan the rest of the year. And so it was really nice to be able to sit down and say, okay, what worked, what didn't work, how can we, you know, be more flexible, because nothing ever goes to plan the way that you want. And we were able to sit down and kind of plan that January to June. And then same thing coming this year, we were able to sit down again in August. And the point of this, you know, is we're giving those teachers the embedded PD. We're creating that equity across grade levels. So we are creating the fact that no matter what teacher a student has, they're still getting those same learning experiences, and they're still able to have that common curriculum and those common skills, and they're learning those 21st century skills. And everything about our Smart Lab is a collaborative space. So all of the things that the students are doing, they're truly working and talking through and able to figure out together. But one of the biggest things that I really, really love about the lab is that we have everything as a checkout. So something that a teacher is able to use and learn and implement in a lesson, they can then check out of the lab. And we do things on like a monthly basis. So like I said, my teachers come every other week. So like in the month of March, my 3rd grade might be learning Spheros, or in the month of March, my 4th graders are doing Swift playground coding, things like that. So the teachers have those 2 different lab lessons with me or with Chrissy, the technology assistant, to really kind of dig in and feel comfortable with that, and then bring it back to the classroom. So it was really excited this year to kind of sit down. We just had our January plannings with our teachers, and it was really excited for my teachers to sit there and say, Ozobots, we could do that in our sleep now. Let's do something else. What else do you have for me that I can learn? And Spheros, yeah. My kids could teach it to each other. I don't need that anymore. What else can we do to truly use this time wisely, where we have this co-teaching environment? So it's really been exciting to see how much they've progressed in their confidence level. And so I was excited this January. My principal and I sat down and brainstormed, and we were like, okay, so this is catching on like wildfire. Everybody is loving it. Everybody is enjoying being able to do this, and the kids, are thriving. How do we truly bring this home and make this, push it even further? And so we really started at this planning, focusing on both the ISTE standards for students and teachers. And then we started talking about the Virginia coding standards that we're about to adopt. So we were really, really excited about those. And our teachers really kind of embraced both of those things. And we were excited to see, when we talk about the ISTE standards, just kind of talking about, that's kind of the universal language for technology standards, and many school districts have adopted those. Loudoun County has adopted those. And I think my teachers were very excited to be able to look at that list of standards. And, I overheard one of my teachers be like, oh, wait, we do this. We do this. This is what we do. And I was like, yes, yes, we do. It's awesome. So it's exciting for them to be able to really see that we are, ahead of the curve, and the work that they're doing is aligned with those 21st century skills that these kids are going to be needing. Yeah, so it's just a lot of fun. Like I said, we're working on those Virginia coding standards now. So still doing a lot of the content creation in terms of, different 3D printing projects, different codings and robotics, but also now into, the Swift playground. And we're really kind of adopting that language of coding. And the teachers are really seeing, how well that can be adapted into their curriculum. So, one of my favorite projects, I'll share one more. My favorite projects that we did, we're also a STEM school. So Liberty just won the FETC STEM Excellence Award for 2018. We're very excited. And so we do a lot of STEM, obviously. And so my 5th grade team said, all right, we have to teach the parts of a plant, the parts of a flower. No 5th grader enjoys sitting down and learning about the stamen and the pistil and the leaf and the root. They roll their eyes. It's not exactly like the end all be all of exciting units that they have to learn. So we said, okay, how do we make that exciting? Let's do it. All right, let's plan this. And so we decided to start as a STEM project where the kids had to create a 3D model of this plant, of this flower, with all of the appropriate parts and have it all done. And then we said, okay, now let's go into Scratch and let's program, because what we want to do is we want to make these flower models interactive, and we want to make them talk to you. So using a Makey and Scratch programming, we were able to wire the flowers that they had made through STEM and made it so that when you touch the leaf, the Makey would talk to the computer, and the program would allow the students to record their voices and say, hi, I'm the leaf of the plant and I absorb the sun and my chlorophyll, whatever else. Or hi, I'm the roots. And so it was really cool to be able to do that. And then we were able to kind of share out, and our kindergartners walk in and they see these really cool STEM projects, and then they touch it and it talks to them. And they were just, you know, so excited to see and to see that engagement. And that's one of the biggest things that I think my teachers are excited about, is not only building their efficacy levels, but building the students, and then truly seeing the students come in and be engaged in this meaningful work, you know, and explaining what the pistil of a flower is, or what the, you know, what the different parts are, in a way that just wasn't as exciting as before. And you see these kids, you know, truly getting into it and wanting to be a part of their own learning. So yeah, so we're really excited. That's kind of where I am at the school right now. As Josh did a little plug, we have our Maker Faire Nova coming up, and I'll be there as well as Josh. So we're excited at George Washington campus. So if you're in Virginia and you want to come see us on the 18th, please do. We're very excited, and we'd love to meet you all. So that's about it.
Well, great. Well, thank you. So, and I think I guess the bottom line for me is that culture piece that really makes a difference as well. To have it. But yeah, it sounds like you're doing exciting things. I am a makey fan myself. So anytime you can make things talk with the makey, I'm happy about that. So, and the Scratch programming. So that's great. Well, thank you very much. So Tim Stalmer, you've been listening quietly. Do you have any questions or comments?
Not really. I could put in another plug for the Maker Faire as well. It's it's a really good fair, and it's going to be growing leaps and bounds over the 3-4. Well, this is the 5th year, I think, something like that. And looking forward to it.
So that there's the question, I guess, that comes for this group, maybe that is the concluding piece of it too, is how much for all of you is being involved in a larger community an important part of your own? Like, you all are, you know, you're clearly working with other people and helping to train people, but where are you getting your own professional development? And I'll throw this out here, and I mean, I know we're live and I'm being recorded for posterity, but one thing VSTE is thinking hard about is how we as an organization help people like you get training, or help people like you develop professionally. You're busy spending your lives getting other people, right? Because you're out there on that cutting edge. But where are you getting your own training, your own development? What communities are important to you? Obviously the Maker Faire. They're suddenly quiet.
So one of my first kind of big experiences, right after my first year, I was actually accepted to present at ISTE out in Denver, Colorado. And that was my first like really, really big conference. Wow. And that was just incredible to be able to be there and meet so many different educators from so many different areas and backgrounds. So that kind of kicked off a lot for me, and it expanded my world a lot, honestly. And I was able to network with a lot of people through that. And so I made friends in the 3D printing community, and I've made friends in the, you know, even like it started off at ISTE Denver, a company called Bloxels, where kids create their own video games. You know, that was something tiny that, you know, they were a poster booth at ISTE in Denver, and now they're this huge company. But that really kind of exposed me to a lot of things. And I learned kind of the usefulness and the importance of having like those digital networks as well. So having those colleagues on Twitter that I get to talk to a lot, and meeting them, and even like with Josh, he's so huge in this 3D printing, you know, community. And for me, it was something that was very new. So I was excited even just to talk to him. And then, you know, the year after that, I was able to go to VSTE and meet some of the Virginia educators and things like that. So some of the conferences that way have been really helpful. But even things like we were talking about, Tim was saying, like even some of those like digital badging and things like that. So for 3D printing, I'm a MakerBot certified educator. And that was something easy that I was able to go through and get certified. And then I ended up being featured in their book. And then I ended up doing webinars for them. And then I ended up, but it was just something little that I was like, oh, that would be cool. I'd love to be a MakerBot educator and kind of have that badge or certification. And, you know, like Tim said, a lot of places are starting to do that. Sphero has a Sphero Hero, you know, company. Ultimaker has a group, things like that. So just kind of finding those digital communities has been really helpful to me. And you know I can post a question on Twitter and I'll have 18 responses, you know, before I can even finish pushing the send button. It's been really nice to kind of connect both face-to-face at conferences like ISTE or VSTE or FETC, and then connecting digitally, you know, through webinars and Twitter and things like that.
Cool.
And I just want to follow up on what Nichole said. When I talk to a lot of teachers and a lot of, you know, especially younger teachers, I suggest that they take what they've learned and they go to a conference, or that, you know, go to a small conference or something and do a presentation and tell people about what you're doing, because it's a great way to meet other people. You go down there and you talk about a certain topic and you find that there are other people in your session who are interested in the same topic, and so you make connections that way. And so by being a presenter and not just going to the conference, you learn an awful lot and make a lot of good connections as well.
Yeah, Tim, that's one thing. It's a good point to bring up, because that's one thing I've really told my ITRCs. I mean, some of them, they're all very good, or they're very good when it comes to instruction. They've got great classroom experience, but a couple of them are a little shy about presenting. It's amazing how some teachers are like that. When they're not real big in public speaking. A lot of them, they're very modest. They think they're not doing something that's great, but they really are. But all my ITRCs, almost all of them present now at various events as much as they can. They're almost always just putting them in proposals. And that's one thing, when you do get a chance to present to those things, you do usually obviously have an audience. And a lot of times people from that audience will come up to you. They're open. They want to kind of, you know, talk to you about things you've got going on. They relate to your presentation, but then you start making these connections that you're talking about. And going back to your question, Karen, again, obviously the conferences, you know, the VSTE conference is awesome. I learned an awful lot there. You know, you run with the wolves like that, you're going to pick up a few things. So, you know, we give a lot of conferences as much as possible. Our budget doesn't allow us to go to ISTE when it goes on the other side of the Mississippi River, but if it's on the east side, we usually try to go to ISTE and try to attend that. But it's always great because there you do get more of a national, international flavor. So it's nice to have the local things. We also belong to a technology consortium that's kind of a regional thing, the Channel Valley Technology Consortium. So we get a chance to talk to our peers in other school divisions. But as Nichole mentioned, you know, obviously Twitter, there's so many online digital resources. You know, I subscribe to a lot of people, you know, I'm sure Matt Miller or Alice Keel or all those. I subscribe to all those. As a matter of fact, you know, I subscribe and get something almost daily sometimes. I'll be honest with you, you can't read them all. I kind of glance over them. I just kind of vet the ones I think can do the most for me. But also John Spencer's another big one. There's the one thing I try to do is a lot of times I think we're all guilty of just staying with the ed tech or the tech groups. I think sometimes it's good to go outside of that realm and just look at other instructional realms. Like I said, we're really looking at grading right now, and kind of dive into some of these areas that aren't really tech groups. And it's amazing what you'll pick up. You know, we're all about learning, you know, so I think anything dealing with learning, conferences, et cetera, resources, you know, I think we can try to make more of an effort to try to join those groups, because I think we get some great ideas there as well.
Great. Josh, any words for wisdom as to where you get your own learning?
I think one concept to think about is finding your tribe, finding those people that you really connect with and click with. And I understand for the wider audience, it can be difficult to go out to conferences and present, to get the funding and all of that for it. How I kind of committed to, when I got into making, I committed all the way to get into Twitter, open up a blog, start Instagramming and Pinterest. And so it goes to, how can students and teachers like share their work in a world where you have access to the entire sum of human knowledge, and it can be intimidating. So I think one of the things that we need to teach students and teachers is bravery. And to take pictures of what you're doing and just post that picture up and show people the process that you're going through. And then the people that respond back on a continuous basis, those are the ones that you're going to be learning from, because they're kind of in the same space that you're in. And so if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you'll see pictures of student projects and makerspace stuff. You'll see stuff that I'm struggling with or haven't figured out. And, you know, right now I'm playing around with cardboard and cutting stuff. And so when you're specific like that, you don't just show your victories in the finished product, but all the steps in between. Like, people say, oh, try this tool or try this technique. And by the way, here's this link. And that's what kind of what I feel like grows your understanding in a maker sort of way, is instead of somebody lecturing or going to a session, it's this learning with your peers and other people who are going through the same process. And so by sharing just like little snippets of where you're at and what you're doing and what you're struggling with, I think you get really valuable comments back, and then develop some friendships that are really lasting.
And I'm going to second Josh's pitch for blogging as well, because I think it's been, for me at least, a wonderful way to connect with people and to learn things as well. And Instagram is a kind of blogging. There's a lot of other tools out there for doing it. You don't necessarily have to run your own blog, but the key, I think, to it is to do it regularly and to do it sincerely, and to encourage other people to connect with you in that way.
And I don't blog as much as I'd like to, or as much as some of the people in this room, but it's so funny because just today I got a comment on a blog post that I did a long time ago about a particular poetic form called the Golden Shovel Poems. You can Google them, and it's a particular format, and I wrote one. And I got a comment on that entry from an English teacher who wants to know if she can use my poem in her classroom because she's going to be covering that form with her students. And I was like, okay, well, one, I had actually forgotten that I wrote that poem however many years ago on my blog, but good for you for somehow finding it. And, and it was kind of a cool connection. And I said, I want to read your students' poems when they're done as well. So, it even a little bit, as you said, can really help with making the connections. I think for some people probably watching, they're thinking, what about the time piece? And it's obvious that all of folks here have made a certain time commitment to these passions of theirs, that it does become a thing that you focus on, and you have to make the time to do it. And I'm certainly guilty of not doing enough blogging, but those occasional comments get me excited again to maybe try it out. So comments, questions, Tim Stalmer, any other comments or questions, or comments or questions from our guest speakers?
I've said enough. It's their show.
I've often thought about a VSTE blogging collaborative, perhaps, if we all committed to doing something. So we'll see. Well, I would like to
we
say
already have that, and we're trying to get people into doing it.
VSTE.org. So yes, I should warn our guest speakers. Now, Tim Taylor has already written several blog posts for us here at VSTE.org, but Josh Ajima and Nichole Thomas, who are on my invited to blog for VSTE.org website or a web list. So I'll be reaching out to you. But we're so excited that the three of you were able to join us this evening. Just hearing your excitement and passion for the work that you're doing here in Virginia. I'm clear on why you were our award winners, and we're so excited that you're part of the VSTE family. So I don't have any other questions or comments. Last chance for our folks in the room to say something for posterity's sake.
Live well, prosper, and use technology effectively.
Oh, look, I can do that too. I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, good for you, Taylor.
That
Josh,
was great.
Nichole?
Great to hear
The
everybody.
thumb has to be out in order for it to be accurate. However.
There you go. No, thank you for having us. I'm really excited. If you want to connect, my Twitter handle is @Mrs. Thomas TRT, because we were TRTs, now I have to. But yeah, just excited to be here and to get to talk and get to share my time with these other amazing people. So thank you.
Great.
And I think there may be some mystery about these awards, but I'd strongly encourage anybody to watching, if you know someone in Virginia who's doing great things. Like, I don't think we tell our stories enough. So like you should nominate someone. You should be thinking about right now of someone who's innovative or someone who's a great teacher in using technology, and be sure you get the nominations in during the nomination window.
And I will follow up. That's perfect, Josh. Actually, right now, if you know leaders who might be interested, nominations for the VSTE Board of Directors are currently open. Tim Stalmer and Tim Taylor are both directors. These are the folks who, for at least 3 years, get to kind of guide the ship that is VSTE.org. And have really
for Karen Richardson is what it really means. So.
Yeah, you make sure I don't get right up on the shoals, right? But those nominations are open right now through the beginning of March. We open our awards nominations at this year, maybe earlier. We're rethinking the process a little bit, but what we're looking for is exactly what you had the opportunity to meet this evening. Exciting educators, innovators, folks who are doing fabulous things in the state. So as the final word, perhaps, VSTE.org, click the Join Now button. You'll get our weekly newsletter, get to be clued in on some of the great things that we're doing, and connect with our communities if you're interested in learning more. So thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye, folks.